give our students.
Marlena, do you want to share what your considerations were?
Yeah, just getting pulled up here, sorry.
No problem.
So for Kegwood Middle School, I think it was the history of Ida Kegwood that inspired me. It was shared at the first meeting. And I feel like the children should benefit from that. They should hear and be proud and inspired by their namesake for their new school. This is a person who gave so much to their students even years after they left. So that was my first choice for Kegwood. Middletown Middle School, it's non-discriminatory. There's no person tied to it. You know, as the past few months have shown, there are many feelings towards an individual. So I just thought Middletown Middle School was just even. So that was I just wanted to inspire students, you know, give them a name that they can be proud of. And it sounds like, I feel like Nina was another one that was shared in the history that I had known about, and I grew up in Middletown and been here my whole life, so I appreciate that being shared with everyone.
So I just have one question if we're talking about our considerations, and Tom, you had said you were counting the numbers and that the community wanted a change. There were a lot of people for the Woodrow Wilson name, and that is not here. That no one voted for that. So I would like to hear from a couple, at least committee members, why that didn't come up.
I think that because it's a new school, it should get a new name because it's a new building and everything. That's why.
I can also add, I think that it is important to honor history, but there's many other ways that we can accomplish that other than holding on to that name that many people found offensive.
Before we pass to another person, can I just say thank you all. It's been a pleasure being on this committee with you.
Thank you.
See y'all around.
Thank you, Precious.
I think the new school should be a place where all students will be proud to walk in the front door. And that's why I believe none of us voted for Woodrow Wilson.
I agree with you. You know, we want our students to be able to walk into school and feel proud. We don't want a set of students to feel like I'm in this school and they're okay with this school being named after someone who did not care for our people. You know, it's a new day, you know, and yes, we are proud of our history, but sometimes we have to look at history and say it was not fair to everyone. And let us, you know, I don't want to say secretly enjoy or embrace our past history, but Maya Angelou said, when you know better, you do better.
Yes.
So I believe that in the climate that we are, when, you know, you have a president that tells people to go back to where you come from, we do not want to continue that rhetoric in Middletown. I think we're way better than that. We're a very diverse group of people, and you know, let us live together and let people not feel like they're somewhere and they're not welcome. So that was my thought on it. Love your neighbor, out to the people.
In case you don't have enough.
Yeah, I think one of the things, if we go back to numbers, as Tom had mentioned, there were some people that did speak out in favor of keeping the name Woodrow Wilson, but there was a overwhelming majority of people that either wanted a change or had suggested other names besides Woodrow Wilson. So as I was making my decision, that's what I considered.
Yeah, again, I'll go back to the numbers. I believe that the people that came up to speak, the people who had written testimonies before the deadline had expressed the need to change, and there were far more people who wanted to change than wanted to keep Woodrow Wilson.
My daughter is a junior here at Middletown High, and she has had an American Studies class this year, and one of the people that she had to dress up as and she had to do a court case as Woodrow Wilson. And she opened my eyes to how racist Woodrow Wilson was, because according to what I knew, he was our president, he was one of our presidents. And she was so disgusted by the idea of what he did in history. So that was way before any of this committee came up or anything like that. And so that stuck out to me. And even when we talked about Woodrow Wilson, and I would talk to her at home about this, and she would say, no, remember I did that report on him, and he cannot be one of the choices. And so to me, when you have a student who's from Middletown telling me that this is not a person that should ever grace our building, I'm gonna listen to that.
Yeah, listen, so a lot of these sentiments as well. In part, at first, like 1.5, 1.7 years versus the life of Ida Keglin and the life of the Beeman family. Talk about impact, so that in that decision making. But names have power, and I know that people want to hold on to their history, and it's important that they have moving forward an opportunity to do that. And I think that that's important. But I couldn't, in my mind, separate the man's actions from that name, and couldn't imagine voting to put that name on a building that our very diverse community, our children, our most important learners in our community would walk through, knowing. So I felt like if we had done that, we would have been turning a blind eye to the facts, and signaling something that would really resonate beyond just throughout their educational careers and lives. If we know better, we do better, and it was an opportunity, and I think that that's the case. And I hope moving forward there are ways the community can come together and honor his history.
Sorry,
Are we allowed to ask a question?
we don't have public comment at
We're
this.
not allowed to ask a question, even though our tax dollars pay for all of your salaries and everything that you're doing?
We're actually all
I just have a
volunteer,
question.
we're volunteering for this committee.
I just
And
have a quick
I'm sorry,
question.
we don't
I
have
thought
public
Woodrow
comment at
Wilson
this
was
meeting.
going to be one of the names should be considered by the common council. It's not your decision, you're just presenting suggestions of names. And so we were all, thousands of people who signed.
Point of order, she doesn't have the floor.
Yeah, true. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
We have to
We
continue
all
our
thought
meeting.
that was just going to be one of the names.
Are we gonna?
So we're gonna,
There are avenues that we could bring this. It's not this committee.
Just so you know.
so we're gonna move on to item 3, which is, the statement that I had emailed to you. I printed out, so you have, you can refer to the hard copy in front of you. I want to make sure, again, that as we report to the Board of Education and the Common Council, they have a very thorough understanding of what our charge was and how we did the work that we did. I attempted to represent that as best I could, but I want to take any input from the committee as to what changes or additions or deletions I should make.
I do have one. Thank you for putting this together. I did look into it, and the gymnasium at Keglin is not named after Prof. Galito. The sign outside and inside are just names for the basketball league that is held there. So
Okay.
if you want to strike that, you can, because it's not an officially named area of that building.
I particularly liked your last paragraph. I particularly like the last paragraph in which you said that the committee recommends to the Board of Education that they establish a committee in order to collect and display memorabilia from both the Wildcats and the Tigers in the new building. So I think that's important to get across. not only to the board, but to the building committee, so they provide a space for it.
It had come up in a previous meeting about the possibility of us offering suggestions for naming certain sections of the new school. Was that something we can still talk about, or?
I thought we had decided that that was a job for another committee. So, I'll obviously fill in, on the back of the first page at the bottom, the top choice being Beaman with 24 points, the second choice being Beaman Douglas with 12 points, and the third choice being Mattabesett with 9 points. Would you like me to include this whole list and all of these points, just so that they have a complete picture of how the voting went?
I would attach a screenshot.
It's also in the notes, it's in the minutes.
And I will synthesize your comments about your considerations and plug those in to that blank part where I had just put some bullets as placeholders there. So I have striking out that piece on the Prof. Galito sign. Any other revisions that you want to see made to this? This is like the official report of the committee's work.
To the chair, if there's no other further questions, I'd like to make a motion that we adjourn the meeting.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Before we adjourn, I just want to echo Deborah's comments earlier in thanking all of you. I've been really impressed with the seriousness that you brought to this process and the commitment. So my heartfelt thanks. I know it wasn't easy. And we are adjourned.
Did you see this letter?
I did take your